Hola, uno, dos, tres, probando, testing. I'm Minister Oyeyemi, you with me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I know that we have sound back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sacral Chakra Healing, and I think I'm gonna have to edit like this part two because part one, I know we got that first part down. Um, Tonight is a really special and powerful podcast because this session has just come together in such a way. I was having a talk with my guest, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring her in, but I'm gonna let you know how these things happen. I'm having a talk with her. This is someone who we go way back, and we're having just this conversation about what's happening now in the world with the wombstress, the goddess, and this energy that we're existing in now, and just a lot of the things that are going on. And this topic came up, this topic about being able to hold each other accountable when we do things, the things that we do as women, the things that we do with our sexual nature. And one of the things that came up was when we use our sexual power and then we cry wolf when it doesn't turn out the way that we want it to turn out. So, this is a really deep and heavy conversation that we're going to be diving all the way into tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rev Coach Latanya Taylor. Hola. Oh, wait, what happened? You know what?
Oh,
Oh,
hola.
there
Thank
you are.
you. Thank you so
Oh,
much for the introduction.
you're so very welcome. That's so funny. I was like, did we lose her already? This Mercury in retrograde ain't playing. How are
Oh no,
you?
I was on mute so that I didn't have any noise coming from this end, only frequency.
Okay, good, good, good. It is so good to have you here. It has been a long, long time coming, and it's time to do this.
Ashe.
You've been doing before we get into the conversation. I do want to say that you've been doing a lot of work, as a reverend with women, specifically in this topic of sexual energy and how we use it. Can you tell us just a little bit about some of the work that you do with women?
Sure. Well, just so that everyone can know who they are talking to, I am Latanya Taylor, affectionately known as the Rev Coach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, the Priestess of Purpose, Pleasure, Passion, and Profits. And I specialize in rites of passage for women. And I have a 6-month rites of passage process called the Juicy Spirit Woman and Womanhood Rites of Passage, that is. So I've done about 9 or 10 rounds. I see it as rounds, a cohort, if you will, of women who from all walks of life. Many who were transitioning out of traditional Christianity or transitioning from some of the dogma that binded them. And so I started this journey before it became popular and before it became monetized. It wasn't a lot of people other than Mari and myself and another sister in the marketplace even talking about this.
Mm-hmm. And it's been, there's so many levels to what this is. We've been talking about this for a long time, and this specific topic about us using our sexual power is very important, specifically now because things are being just completely put out there without any kind of responsibility and on purpose, for this sexual energy to continue to be abused. And so when we were talking about this energy that happens when, as a woman, your sexual power is pretty much everything. I mean, it's a very, very powerful thing, and nobody talks to us about it. It's something that we figure out, and we get told, what is it? Use what you got to get what you want. You know, it's like these terms and these things that kind of give us an idea of our energy and our power. But it's always been taboo to kind of talk about this energy and how it's used and how we can use it and how we naturally and organically do use it. And because of the lack of that conversation and the tradition of teaching our daughters, teaching our goddesses, our women, our wombstresses, it has all been lost, and it has been, you know, it still has been held sacred, and there have been, like Rev Coach says, small groups of people that have been talking about it, but not at the level where it needs to be talked about now. And so, in talking about this energy and being and using it, and then crying wolf was specifically what I had put out. Do you use your sexual power for gains and cry wolf when you don't get what you want? And this is something that is done not even always on purpose. It's so embedded in us to be a certain kind of woman that this is just what we do. Would you say?
Well, yeah, so that's why I said, I've been doing this work and you've been doing this work and a few others specifically around the levels of sexual energy, because there are levels to it. And before it became monetized, and I think when I say monetized, I mean heavily commercial, where I see the association of a lot of millennials and younger who have come into the knowledge of the divine feminine and have not done any type of inner work to elevate the sexual energy that we speak of, or the power of the sacral chakra beyond just self. And so that's what I see, and I absolutely see the pattern being in place for us because it had to have been in place as a part of our fall, the fall of woman. We love to talk about the fall of man, but we don't oftentimes, like you said, it's taboo to talk about the fall of woman because it's easy for us to go and live in victimhood, even with spiritual terms, spiritual bypasses.
Absolutely. And now that we're getting to this information of the divine feminine that's coming, we were talking about this last week, there's still a lot of people that are afraid to really claim it because the patriarch has been so strong and the program has been so strong that to really call on your divine mother and really consider her as God is something that, people are getting looked at crazy for that.
Yeah. Well, I think we are once again the trailblazers. I think the Divine Mother, I know, I'm more clear about the Divine Mother chooses her vanguard. In the Nation of Islam, I was a part of the General Sisterhood, the Muslim Girls in Training class, right? General Civilization class, MGT, GCC. But in the MGT and GCC were the vanguard. Well, the vanguard were the ones who go first. And I do think that the Divine Mother calls the ones who go first. And so those of us who are calling her by name, it's a big leap from what we're talking about. So, like, to me, I can understand the why there's resistance, because when you begin to elevate to that level of consciousness and language and communication and ritual, then it's a responsibility that comes with that. But as long as it is reduced to something just for coaches to enroll people in their program, churches to appeal to people now because they're bold enough to say it because it's more popular, but to go further than just victimhood or using sexuality to get what you want. So in the beginning, when I first started my rites of passage processes, a lot of the first rounds of women who came were the women who were either trying to get a man or keep a man. And I used to always say to the sisters, at some point on this journey, you have to shift from just what you want to get what you want to attract to, and rather than lose yourself. So you want to get a man, keep a man, but lose yourself in the process. So, of course, we will attract a lot of women who want to learn how to become more orgasmic, which is transactional oftentimes when it's low vibrational. So you'll come in with that intention thinking that that's the only reason. But most people are coming because their feminine soul is calling for a deeper level of healing.
And this is and I have to say that when we talk about this topic of, and we're saying, are you using your sexual power for gains, and you cry wolf when you're not getting your way? And so it is important to talk about this, not to reprimand anybody, not to say anybody's wrong for doing anything that they've ever felt that they had to do, but it's more about really opening up the conversation about what that is about and what that really is doing, what we're really using when we start using our sexual power, what we're really giving away when that starts to happen. And there's a root to it. It goes deeper than just that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I said absolutely. I was agreeing, saying absolutely. It's definitely not to reprimand anyone, because Scripture says, therefore the grace of God go I. And Lord knows I've gone unconsciously using this power or misusing its power, which is also perfectly natural when you begin to discover yourself, explore yourself. Every superhero, if you will, when you look at the X-Men movies, the children had to go to a special school to learn how to use their gifts and not hurt anybody, right? If you look at X-Men, if you look at any of the Marvel characteristics, most of them had to go through a conditioning to be able to use their superpowers. I see it's the same way when it comes to the divine feminine, or people who are embracing their divine feminine through sexual energy first. There's a whole nother chakra that you have to go to so that the energy does not get stuck right in the sacral. If you have done no root work and you are only identified through the sacral, then that is going to be an imbalance. You're going to send yourself back to the root every time. It's going to be very difficult to rise up. Now, there's the other side where you can activate Kundalini energy before it's time, and it can cause you to be imbalanced as well, all the way up to the crown chakra. In fact, it can cause some people to go insane. So there is a level of shadow work that's necessary, so that when all of this light energy comes in through opening up this portal, that it can be a healing. Because see, if the sacral energy is about creativity, and it is, then it also is about destruction. Long pause.
Yeah, absolutely.
The very thing that we use to create, if we look at just universal law in terms of laws of polarity, laws of duality, then if it creates, there must be a destruction. If we go through a menstrual cycle where if we are not impregnated, then we bleed and we release what was not fertilized. Well, oftentimes when it's low, is vibrating low, we don't release it. We hold on to it, and it becomes what we call these generational patterns that we see in our lives. And in our discussion, one of the things we were talking about is when we look at what's going on in many of these spiritual circles, we call it spiritual abuse, especially when sexual energy has been used. We look at many of the great leaders who are master teachers, even now in the so-called conscious community and other communities that have made great progress. There always is some attachment of this sexual energy. And it's easy for us to just stop at the men were wrong. it's very easy, and it's very easy also to go to the other side that the women were up to something. Mm-hmm. But what if we didn't demonize the sexual energy and really look at what messages it continues to bring to both the divine masculine and the divine feminine? Absolutely. Sorry to be long-winded.
Oh no, not long-winded at all. This is we're doing this. It's information. It's things that have to be talked about, because that's a key point right there, that it not be demonized, because it's all energy. And here's the thing, this energy has been working no matter what we think, no matter what we believe, no matter what we're conscious or aware of. The energy is what it is, and it does what it does. And our vibrational frequency is going to determine what that's going to look like. And our ignorance to this knowledge is what has created the world as it is today. You know, it's like people are continuously creating. They don't know where it's coming from. They don't recognize that they're doing it. They're blaming it on other people, and they're not recognizing their own power.
Absolutely.
I did want to pass the mic to Minister Odeyemi and see if she had anything that she wanted to input so far.
I think it starts.
You're sounding really low.
What about now?
That's a little better. Let's see.
For me, everything starts with the womb.
Oh, it's going. It's very low. It's very low. I could barely hear you.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Much better.
Everything to me starts in the mother's womb. If the mother isn't aware of her energy, her frequency, her vibration, then the child isn't going to be aware of its energy and its frequency and its vibration.
That's the truth. And this is why it all goes back to this healing that we've been talking about in the self, in being able to.
So the child comes to the planet. So sure, she's not aware of her sexual energy. But then also, we're in this age where it's a choice. Because that energy says, okay, I'm here. But there's also that other side of that same coin that says, just because you're here doesn't mean you have to use it in that way. So once again, it's a choice. We've been taught not to be responsible for anything. Some of us, I'm not going to say everybody, because some people do accept responsibility. But if you allow yourself to be governed by what's on TV, what's on the radio, then you're going to play into that sexual energy. You're not going to use it for creation. You're not going to use it to raise or heal your bloodline, to break those generational curses. You're going to use it for your own personal abuse and gain. But when you truly decide that you're going to live a different life, then you're going to use that energy for something greater. But that comes from allowing yourself not to get caught up into the world.
There it is. It's that time to come back to yourself. I wanted to ask Rev Coach, what are some of the ways that we could address this within because like tonight, there is so much that can be talked about, but you're here and you're doing this work, and I want to give people an idea of what happens with the Rev Coach when you do this work with somebody. Like if somebody is coming and they don't necessarily know they know that they're feeling this energy, because there's a lot of women that are feeling, what is it that they're calling it? The Jezebel, the this, that there's a lot of energy that's being put out there. Women that are feeling really good and comfortable about, their sexuality and who they are and stuff. But then when spirit hits, then it starts to, it starts to attack. And then they come to a deeper healing with people such as the Rev Coach and, Master Vibration 13. So can you tell us what are some of the techniques or some of the things that a person can start off with when they're starting to feel this energy and they're needing to start getting to this healing? Uh-oh, where's it at?
I'm sorry, I was on mute again talking. The first, as you said, there are a lot of layers to this before we even get to that. I don't go right to sexual energy to just the spiritual energy of sexual energy. First of all, I think that if a woman is owning her sexual energy without shame or guilt, then she should be celebrated. She should celebrate that. She should play with it, explore it, research it. However, if you stay there and it becomes something that becomes a drain for you, then you need to know how to use it. And so for me, I look at the spirit of Oshun or Aphrodite or Lakshmi that women naturally embrace. You can see it in some young women, little girls, or even adult women who've been made to be afraid of it or ashamed of it. You have to do the healing work around that first. And too many elders send duplicitous messages. We have a lot of teachers. We had Queen Afua who was doing the womb work, right? But it's not just spiritual energy. And that is why we've seen the season of, quite frankly, without edit, is the whore. It looked like whores were winning in the culture. On one hand, right? And then I've made references to this, and I know you all probably are a little removed from it, but I'm a little tapped in because of being in the entertainment industry. I see all of these influencers who are using sacred feminine this, divine feminine that, feminine energy this, to get new followers, to teach, and they haven't even done the work.
No,
that's a violation. So that is the first violation. So when women are doing that, and there is two things that's happening. The women who are drawn to them don't know that they haven't done their work.
Right.
And so now you come in and you got young women who have no mentorship, no elders like Queen Afua or OJ Yemi or you or me. They don't have that. And then chaos breaks out in the community. It breaks out in the communities and the tribes just with the women. You throw a good-looking, charismatic, spirit-filled man in the mix who's leading. Even in the nation, the minister used to talk about it. It's not just sexual energy. A lot of these women have missed a relationship with the divine masculine that's healthy. So when they see it, they are turned on by it, but they don't know that it is their spirit that is being drawn to a thing, and so the sexual energy attaches to that, and before you know it, we're in difficult situations. So the first place that I work with women is to get through the shame and the guilt. And sometimes the shame and the guilt has come from other women.
Oh, yeah.
As well. That we have been very hard on women, and now we have cultures of women who say they don't trust women or they don't do certain things with women. Oftentimes, those are women who have been demonized for their sexual energy in their bloodline. Our conversation was a little bit deeper in that we were saying that this is a bloodline thing, too. This is something that we don't even talk about in our families. So Why is it that grandma, who we love, who we adore, who held the family together, may have had two or three fathers who don't know each other? How many cover-ups do we have in families? And so one of the things we said, I, Minister Mari, is that we have to also look at atonement. Mm-hmm. And see, the atonement doesn't just come from processes. The atonement comes from looking in your genealogy. What are the stories, the secrets? Why did this happen? Why is it that this one was raised by that one and was told that this was your mother, and your mother might have been 13 years old because she was pregnant by the uncle? Mm. And we want to just say that that's molestation, but it's not just molestation. It's also the secrets. It's the secrets and the cover-up, right, that begin to demonize this energy, because you go generation after generation and don't know what's happened. And then we could go on cosmically. Where did this thing called Jezebel even come from? So this is not new, and it's returning over and over again, so that we can stop focusing on personalities and that type of thing, and look at what we need to do for ourselves and then in our bloodline, and then we can bring a healthier self to communities as well.
That's it. It is that time for us to do this healing. This sacral chakra healing came by way of just the abuse that has happened in my family, with myself, and, coming to this topic of using and abusing sexual power. It was just really hitting me on just that whole point of when we grow up watching our mothers and our aunties and it becomes like an unspoken language of what to do as a woman. We don't mm-hmm. really, nobody really had to sit me down and tell me what to do. I watched and I saw what I would exude and how that would, give me a return. And I will say that I personally was always very responsible in the world of sexual energy in terms of how I engaged. And so I made sure not to use those things in order to make any gains, but they were definitely used in other ways. And these are these subliminal, or these small ways that we're oh, well, that's not a big deal. I wore this on purpose, or I did this to get this kind of attention. And it's knowing those little things that we do that come from a whole nother situation, and then when we don't, the thing that I really wanted to point out that was very important is when we do not get the attention that we seek, and then we turn into that other being. Then we really use that power, and we get really, really nasty with it,
Yes. Oh, yes, for sure. Now that is a definitely a vicious and manipulative wound. It's a wound, and that is very, very vicious. Mm-hmm. And it's what I said still applies to these spiritual communities, because that was the example that we were using. There's always situations like this in the entertainment industry, because it's always so much creativity there, right? Mm-hmm. And I heard somebody give an example before. When you have all this money and you begin to have access to who you want, when you want, where you want, you start to explore the next thing and the next thing. Before you know it, how did I end up in this or that? Right. You use your imagination. Mm-hmm. It could be same-sex love. It could be hardcore drugs, and then before you know, you're doing other things when you're under the influence. It could be orgies, and so we know, okay, that's there, that element. But then there's also Sister Ojayemi said something that I thought was important. She said it starts in the womb, and she talked about the world. But a lot of this abuse that we're talking about is happening right in these spiritual communities too. And so these are women who oftentimes are vegans, who use the language of spirituality, metaphysics, yoga, yoni work, crystal, all of this stuff, and yet you will still find the abuse of this energy. You said something about being mindful of how you dress. Well, if you have not been mothered, if you have not been fathered properly, you come to this spiritual work with the energy of an orphan. And when you come to this spiritual work with the energy of an orphan, you attach, especially when you think you're grown and you know everything, then you attach it to oftentimes the thing that makes you feel good, or the person that makes you feel good, or you open it to it, or you invite it, because it is a spirit. It really is a spirit. And I know this is a very difficult conversation, and I am not lacking any sensitivity to those of us who have had any type of predatory sexual experiences, because I'm not exempt. I will share with your listeners an experience when I was doing a higher level of leadership training. And this brother is my master coach now. He is, peace and blessings upon him. He walks with me as one of my angels. But when I was working with him in the leadership training at this higher level of leadership, you had to go through this exercise. And in this exercise, you had to release the idea of victimhood. You had to bring up the most awful experience that you've ever had in your life. Well, for most of the women in the circle, it was rape, molestation, some type of abuse. Mm-hmm. And I remember all of us being triggered, getting angry, like, how dare you? We can't let that go. And before you could move to the next exercise, you had to have the breakthrough at this thing, or it will shut down the room. It literally sets the tone for the rest of the training. Mm-hmm. And that's a level of leadership training that is transformative. That exercise stayed with me because it showed me how even to take my worst experience and get it to neutral. Mm-hmm. Many of us are unwilling to do that level of shadow work and healing before we step into leadership, or before we lead with the sensual sexual energy. Mm-hmm. And therefore it attracts everything low vibrational that we, or the person, has not healed. But when I did that exercise, he worked with that trigger in all of us in that room, and it was life-changing because I was able to apply it to anything. Mm-hmm. When I let that grip go on the very story that I still held as reserved for victimhood, mm-hmm, or mm-hmm. predatory nature. But what that did was it opened me up to understand energy, period.
Yeah.
And be more mindful of it. And it wasn't to turn in to say I was at fault. I definitely have been on the other side of metaphysicians who say stuff to you at your most vulnerable moment. Well, you created that. Mm-hmm. How did you attract that? It wasn't that. It wasn't coming from that energy, mm-hmm, at all. And that, I think that is the season for us to even take the abuses and almost ask it, how did you even get here? Mm-hmm. How did you get here in my life? Who else had this experience? So you got to have a conversation with it. Mm-hmm. Because now if my mother had it, my mm-hmm. aunt had it, okay, wait a minute. Now it really is a spiritual attachment.
Yeah.
And if I'm the one who's aware of it, if I am the one with the consciousness, then oftentimes I'm the one called to clean it up.
I see. It's so interesting that you brought that up because we were talking about on the Grand Rising of the Matriarch. We were talking about how when you have that energy, like you were just saying, something happens and people are like, "Oh, you brought that on you. You brought that on you." But we were going into the womb, so we were talking about how we bring things from our mother and her mother and everything else that has been in that space in that womb while we were cooking. So it's very important to identify that because it is different when you're getting that kind of training that they're saying, okay, yeah, this is all because of you, all because of you. It's just kind of like it's too limiting. It's just like me is. And then if you recognize who you are, then you know that it's way deeper than that. Because yes, the I am. You're so much more than that. I wanted to pass the mic to Imenso Odeyemi.
Well, like I said, everything goes back to our mother's womb. Whatever our mother experienced, we're going to experience. So, and then I liked about Rev Coach when she talked about the generational curses. So often we don't talk about the sexual abuse. We don't talk about the trauma that's happened. So we keep those secrets. And those secrets are held in our root, they're held in our sacral, and they're held in our womb. So therefore, that shame and that blame, we carry that shame, we carry that guilt. But as I said before, what released me or helped me in mass is I'm sitting in church. At the time I was in church, and then I hear this voice. It says, forgive your molesters because you must have molested them in a prior incarnation. And that was like a light bulb for me. We keep forgetting we think that we're just in one lifetime. There's more than just this lifetime for us. So we keep forgetting about what that soul karma brings. So in my molestation, I came to help inspire, awaken, and show other sisters that we can rise above this. We can break those curses. Mm-hmm. We can heal through our womb, through our root, and through our sacral to help assist and bring the gifts. Bring forth the frequency, the energy, the keys, the codes of our bloodline, of our melanin. So often, you mentioned Oshun. Everybody sees Oshun as just this sacred sexual goddess. But Oshun was so much, much, much more. There's a Pati, and they call them Patis with their stories. And it talks about when Ogun, which technology and everything runs because of Ogun. Ogun got upset, and he went to the forest. And went to the forest, everything shut down. Everything shut down. So no one could go and bring Ogun out of the forest. No one would go. But Oshun said, I'll go.
But Oshun could. Mm-hmm.
Oshun went.
Yeah.
With a pot of honey on one hip and a machete on the other.
Mm. That's right.
And she went to that forest. And she got Ogun out the forest. There's another story when Oshun, when all the babies were dying, Oshun went to the bottom of the ocean. She gave up her life. See, we see ourselves as being these sexual energies, but we're much deeper than that.
Right.
So that's what's been given to us. Sure, we all carry that sexual energy. That's what we're born through that. But that don't mean that we have to. That's all we are. To me, I go back to a choice. You can choose to use that energy to transcend, but I'm like Rev Coach. So often, we don't think that we need a teacher. When I grew up, I hung out with the elders. I hung out with the Rick sisters because they knew. They knew what was going on. They could show you. They could teach you. They could guide you. We don't do that anymore.
Because we don't trust each other, like Rev Coach said.
It's not even that. No, it's not even that. Oh, she old. She don't know nothing. Because you see, we done got away from Big Mama. We done got away from Nana. Because the average Nana is out here drinking with a child. The average Nana is getting high with a child. The average Nana now is partying with a child. So we've gotten away from family tradition. What happened to family tradition? We don't have that anymore. Where, we would go to Big Mama's house to eat every Sunday. Big Mama would cook, and we would all come together. We've lost the sense of community. We've lost the sense of family. We lost the sense of value, worth.
Well, when a person loses their own self-worth, then it's over. It's over.
I said, but guess what? It's not over. It's just that when, as the, should I say, the big sister in or the womb sister, we have to, the vision. The vision is to hold that each sister can see her worth and tell each sister, we could go back to the womb and heal ourselves through our womb and our mother's womb. But that's the vision we have to hold. We have to keep this vision. We talk about the divine. I don't use the word feminine at all. To me, it's a divine matriarch and it's a divine mother. I'm like Mama Zogby on that word feminine. I'm not really attached to the European words. Mama, Big Mama, Mother, Nana, whatever you want to call that Mother Ashe and that Mother energy. We can't even accept that because we're so caught up with just the patriarch energy. We can't get past the patriarch. No offense, but that energy is old and dead. Our Minister Gabrielle brought something to I've known this. She said we were having a conversation, and she were people talking about the solar eclipse, and we just allow things to just grow and we make it worse than what it actually is. But this is what she said. Before you have a solar eclipse, you always a week before you have a lunar eclipse. But we keep forgetting that we birthed everything. So we never came from the sun. The sun came. We birthed the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to go back to the birthing piece.
That's it.
We are the birthers.
Hey.
We are everything. But we can't accept that because we've been allowed to think that we're less than and not enough because did our mothers really know they were? But if we go back to that, they stood together. We just got to take the yoke off our neck. And when a sister says she don't trust another sister, it ain't that she don't trust another sister, she don't trust herself.
Right.
That's what it all starts with self. Charity begins at home. It's where the broad Moselle. You can't get what you ain't got. So if you don't trust another sister, I said, no, you ain't because you don't trust another sister. You don't trust yourself.
Yeah.
100%.
The same thing with love. Yeah. I want to send a shout out to Minister Reddy from Reddy Healing, who's saying that we were not taught, never mind even aware of how efficiently to use our powers, the womb chakra. And then she talks about cramps from not releasing. She's talking about the menstrual cycle. Like she was following with us, and I'm just now like reading all her things. Thank you, Minister Reddy, for that. We are here talking to Rev Coach Latanya. And Minister Odeyemi talked about rebirth. And as soon as she said that, I, of course, went back. That's your Rebirth Ministries. That's your brand. That's what you've been talking about since forever. And it's like, it gives me chills when I say it because, I've watched it, like the butterfly that you are. I've watched all of this transformation, you going from different places in the world to bring this knowledge and this information to people in your own way, in your divine way, the way that you have created through all of the things that you have discovered and uncovered in your journey. So, can you let people know where exactly they can find you? I know you have some things going on. You have different things going on in your, in your circles. So I want you to give someone information on if they want to, if they're just starting out and want to get involved with you, how could they find you?
Sure. You can reach me at Rebirth with Latanya on all platforms. Rebirth with Latanya should come up on YouTube, Instagram. On Facebook, it's Latanya Taylor, the Rev Coach. But all of the programs, you can find me, Rebirth with Latanya, rebirthwithlatanya.info. And I am hosting a open source spiritual revival, a metaphysical revival next Friday, Good Friday, as what it's known in the traditional world. However, we're calling it Good Goddess Friday. Good Goddess Friday, a metaphysical revival, because so many women have been really having a hard time with this season that we're in, because of Pluto's activity is bringing up so many emotions, in their own Pluto. And so after hearing how many people have been depressed, isolated, shut down, closed off, my prayer partners and I said, well, let's just call a few of the Divine Mother's daughters who we know together, which Mari is one of them, and let's have an online revival for our group of people, because it's really our season. So Mari will have the details, but it's on Friday. The link is available on my platforms as well. And I also do a 7-day process called the Get Juicy 7, the Fab Factor, Feminine Abundance Basics, learning the feminine abundance basics for 7 days. So that's what I have going on.
I am so happy that you talked about that, because that's what I wanted to talk about next, is the fact that, we have these discussions and we talk about, the things that need reparation, the things that need healing. But the wonderful part about it is that we're doing the work. We're doing the work constantly and consistently. And this that you're doing of being able to offer this healing for people to come and get they don't even know they need it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, to be able to put these things together, I just commend you for doing that and for always just staying on it. You've been on it for a very long time, and this is our season. And I am so happy that we are doing this work together at this time. So much more to come. There's so much for us to do. And there are solutions everywhere. One of the most important things that, I think about this whole conversation that we've had this evening is just the importance of people recognizing individually who they are and when you got a problem. And so I wanted to share something really quick on, just because I just got this vibe, so I have to say it, for people to really truly recognize what this sexual power is, and what this and how we are abusing this power, even subconsciously. I just want to share a story of how I use my sexual power, right? And I use it in the way of, because of my trauma, when I chose to give away my so-called virginity, because it was already taken, but when I chose to give it away, I did that, and I used this energy. I used that time so that I can get this care and this nurturing from this male counterpart, from this person. So this is something that is important to recognize, that using your sexual power for your benefit, for the bag of what emotions, whatever it is. It's not necessarily a thing that we're looking at a woman that's just scantily clad and she's just using her sexual energy in that way. Oh, goodness. That they're using their sexual energy in that way. It's more so, this is something that begins to happen. And I can say this now, at 53 years old. But yeah, when I was 17 years old, I didn't realize what I was doing, but I was still doing it. And this is how sexual energy and sexual manipulation works. And so I was needing this kind of comfort and this thing that I thought that I needed. And of course, that turned into a whole nother thing. But I just wanted to point out that when we're using this, don't think about it as just somebody being all super, like super promiscuous and using it in a way where it's just out there. Sometimes you're still using it and you intimately, but it's still being abused. And this is really what we want to get at, because that anger and when we turn into that other side is because of that very thing that we were talking about earlier, the things that don't get dealt with, the things that traumatic experience that Rev Coach was talking about that she experienced. Like, we all need to get to that level. We need to know that level strongly, because there's so many things that come from it. And it's what we talk about here all the time, peeling that onion. My goodness, it's so much more. We're definitely going to be having Rev Coach here, on a more regular basis as we're doing this work, and this work is spreading worldwide. There are people in her community that are doing this work, and she is the leader of other leaders. And, this is what's happening now. We're getting to that point where all of these eagles have come together so that we can continue to do what we came here to do. And I'm very excited to have you here. It's been, we talked about this, like, I think for the first time, maybe 2012, 2013, maybe?
Yeah, yes, probably.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
And it's just, and I'm, I get chills because one of the things that I'm so grateful for Minister Oyeyemi and what she brings with the Grand Rising of the Matriarch, because one of the things that we talk about a lot is the support that we have with each other and being able to support each other through absolutely everything. And Rev Coach and I have not been, holding hands for all of these years. You understand what I'm saying? It's like she's been doing her thing, I've been doing my thing. And every time that ancestor, spirit guide, whatever, when it was time for us to come together, we always came together. And it's like we just knew the language. And it was just it is such a beautiful and wonderful thing, which I will be seeing you face to face this year. I'm just saying.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Yes. So it's just a wonderful thing. I'm really excited for all of us and all of these things that are happening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You guys, I'm definitely going to be giving you more information on next Friday's revival and what is it? God, Goddess?
Well, it's really, the title is She Has Risen. I'm just calling it a Good Goddess Friday.
Good Goddess Friday.
Instead of just
I like
Good
that.
Friday, Good Goddess Friday.
I love it. Well, I'll definitely be giving everyone the information on and the details on that. And you guys, if you guys have any questions for Minister Rev Coach Latanya, you can definitely hit me up too, and I will make sure that she gets the information as well. Thank you once again so much for being here. I am going to, after I do, matter of fact, because I usually do this little mantra of singing before I leave. I open it with a song and I leave it with a song. I'm already saying revival. Yes, ache, the revival. So I am going to go ahead and close it out with the little mantra that one day you guys will all remember this mantra and be able to sing it along with me. Okay, here we go. Healing is a feeling. There ain't no make believing. It's with you alone you're dealing. When you're on the ride to find your way back to you. Find your way back to you. You're at Infinity. Find your way, Infinity. Find your way back to you. Ache, gracias, gracias, gracias. Wholeness, everyone. Peace. Adios, everyone.